Today we need to talk about Jimin's injured eye and why people are saying it is. We also need to get into Jimin getting yelled at online when he is at the airport in Japan by some crazy people saying that they will end him. And then we have a HYBE security guard struggling to help. So Dumplings is safe to decide hater or not. Make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hastily mug merch, and let's go. Recently, it was trending that HYBE needs to do better, and people were demanding that HYBE take better care of their artists. And this comes twofold because they believe the security for people at airports, in this case Jimin, aren't protected well enough. I think this is a tough situation. So what happened? If you're unaware, this coming week, it was believed that Jimin recently had a flight. It was believed this was around November 19th on a Sunday, and then apparently another flight even more recent with Jungkook, which I will talk about later. However, the first flight was controversial because when he was at the airport, there was severe crowding. People were recording it from various angles, and the more angles that were seen, the more people were upset at how the security seemingly couldn't do much or wasn't able to fight off the mass fans that were pushing through. And apparently there needs to be security with big guns surrounding Jimin, so no one can come near him. And then others were not even protesting online about security, but just protesting that Jimin or HYBE needs to call ahead and do something to get their artists into the airport through a separate door. The boys can do that, by the way. It's not impossible for them to spend their money and get a private jet, but there's a reason they don't. K-pop is known for their airport fashion, airport moments, and just overall all of those things. Of course, I was seeing some people who did note this and mentioned that the whole K-pop industry needs a revamp, and this practice needs to change. I agree to some extent. However, I also can't help but think that this is something that the artists might have agreed to as well. BTS members are not unfamiliar with the industry practices, and if they wanted to go on a flight privately or go through the airport in a more hidden way, that could be done. But they're aware that walking through the airport gets press and gets people talking about them, so they want to do it. And I'm not making this up or assuming that they have control over this. We have literally seen moments in which the idols would see that the airport seems too dangerous and leave through the back. If the back was always an option, why did they leave through the front? It's because they want the press. In this viral video, we see that the security guard struggles to push fans back, and I can imagine this would be a bit anxiety-inducing, obviously. However, nothing that Jimin can't handle, and it seemed like he overall had a good time, as he later posted on Weverse to thank everyone for coming out. And this was controversial because people in fandoms were saying that him posting this ruins all the hard work that they've done to try to get people to not go to the airport. And this actually makes people want to go more, since Jimin is showing he is grateful. However, if you're being upset because you've been proven wrong rather than learning and adjusting, then you're not a fan. You're just someone who has an ego and needs to be right. Jimin could very much hate and love the airport experience altogether, but the truth of the matter is he does not have to leave through the front. He is choosing to. There's a reason huge celebrities like Justin Bieber and whoever you can think of can literally go through airports in all complete privacy. A lot of times, I don't know if we are looking for the best of interest of the idols or if people are looking out for themselves to not be wrong. And I've said this before, but the belief that something is crazy and extremely far-fetched is often fake. Things are rarely ever actually that dramatic, and usually way less dramatic. During one of Jimin's more recent appearances at the airport, people were taking a moment where they saw Jimin getting into his car. Jimin got in and then waved to everyone. Of course, there were a lot of flashing cameras, so they lit up his face and people were analyzing every little detail. One person claimed that Jimin appeared like he had an injured eye, because in the corner of the eye you could see a bit of a shadow or a brown spot that either looked like the eye was hit or was bleeding at one point. Of course, this was a concern since he had just left the airport and there was all this craziness. Did he hit himself? Did someone hit him? There was a lot of concern there. However, I think it was just makeup. I could be wrong, but I think it is. The members and the boys often dress up when going to the airport. We do see them with makeup and their hair done, so it wouldn't be a surprise if they did have their stylist involved. And then what we are seeing could just be eyeshadow. It would be a very strange place to get an injury, so I would be very curious as to how that happened if he did get injured there. Although I've recently gotten a lot of allergies and I have cut my eye from just scratching at someone, so it's not impossible. But I do want to be positive here. If it was an injury or something like that, it would likely be much bigger and all over. It would be hard for something to just scratch that part and then That's it. We also are looking at photos in really harsh lighting. This means that the photos are going to be overly dramatic with harsh flashes. Colors can tend to be washed out or extremely saturated. That's why we can have makeup or whatever look very good in normal lighting, but then after the flashing cameras are out, we suddenly notice how cakey everything might look or how the eye makeup is actually terrible. So that could also be something that is happening here. Although if he is injured, I wish him the best in recovery. Injuries can happen when you're active and doing a lot of stuff, especially if you're traveling. I don't tend to look amazing after traveling. In fact, I look terrible. So the fact that he still looks amazing is a sentiment to how amazing he is. However, people were not just concerned over his eye and all that, but many people were also very concerned over some alleged messages that were online. This was very disturbing and people had a lot to say about them. So what happened recently? Well, there was news that Jimin and Jungkook were going on a flight together. This caused so much drama in the subculture of the BTS fandom, the fandom that supports only Jungkook and Taeyang, because people think that those two are dating and then Jimin is just coming to ruin the relationship. And this comes from a severe obsession with a couple that has never been confirmed. I'm not bashing the couple or the ship. I absolutely love both members. I am bashing the obsessed and ridiculous people who are being literally insane. There was a person who then wrote some terrible things about Jimin and said that if Jimin was to quote unquote get in the way of Jungkook, that they will attempt to end Jimin's life. They went on to say that they will be waiting for Jimin at the airport and also various shows to try to attack Jimin. Fortunately, the airport appearance is over, and as we can see from that appearance, nothing happened to Jimin and he was okay. I say this pretty often when there's threats, and that most of the time it's just people who are looking for attention or people who want the idol to get scared. They couldn't actually ever do anything, as these people probably don't ever leave their parents' basement. They wouldn't ever actually be able to get close enough to Jimin to even hurt him. And in places like Korea and Japan, people can't just own a gun. Only authorized people can. And then if they're coming from other states or places to hurt Jimin, then you probably wouldn't be able to get on a plane with it. But aside from all that, people who have time to sit at home and type these horrid threats are rarely people that have money to buy guns or to fly somewhere to commit a crime. You have to be somewhat well off to even consider doing anything to a celebrity. I would imagine if Jimin heard about this, he would definitely be upset, which is what I think the point of this was. We've seen Jimin be upset previously during what appeared to be him reading the live stream and getting upset over the comments, and you can only potentially get so many hate comments before you are just absolutely so over it and done with those comments. And of course, they will take a toll on you. They will take a toll on anyone. People were asking HYBE to very quickly take legal action and try to do something, but tracking someone's IP address is not as easy as you might think. You may be able to track a location, like a general country, to get an address. Is very hard. Especially nowadays, people know about using VPNs, so they can cover their tracks when they leave these terrible messages. Fortunately, today's video is sponsored by a VPN, so you too can commit to crimes. I am joking, but I wouldn't take these things seriously, and so it's clear that they have such mental illness to do this. Fortunately, I think HYBE is on it, and if they plan on doing any legal action on this, they most definitely cannot talk about it. So please don't think just because they're not speaking on it, it's not happening behind the scenes. Just assume it is. Jimin would be more scared than anyone that anything could happen to his own life, so if he needs to go to the police himself, you can bet that it would be done. It's not solely the job of the label to protect the artist, just like it's not anyone's responsibility for us to take care and look after ourselves. The same goes with them. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.